on behalf of the National Networks of State Teachers of the Year, NSTOY, and Voya Teacher Voices and our Voya STEM Fellow Program. We are extremely lucky to have been collaborating with Voya through this year for a fellowship program that we're working with in regards to discussing rockstar STEM elements of teaching. And we're going to talk about that tonight and really have a conversation around collaborating with colleagues. We hope that you're going to have a significant amount of takeaways tonight. We have 3 colleagues that'll be sharing the floor tonight. One of our colleagues is going to be sharing the floor both virtually and in person. Thank you, COVID, for rearranging her flight life. And she's on a plane. She's going to be landing in about 20 minutes and she'll join us, but she did record her portion of the presentation to be with us tonight. And so I'm going to go on. Allison is the one that's kind of stuck in air right now, and I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to introduce herself, and then I'll introduce myself really quickly, and we'll move forward.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks to NSTOY and Voya for this fellowship. And I'm glad that everyone can join us this evening. My name is Melissa Collins. I'm a 2nd grade teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, and I can't wait for us to share with you this evening.
Thanks, Melissa. Allison teaches social studies at our STEM lab school in Adams 12. She's actually a colleague of mine, a new educator to STEM who was brought into the fellowship program with us. And I'm Michelle Pearson. I teach social studies education, but I'm also a historic preservationist and work with the STEM field in that regard. So we all bring a lot to the table here in our different lenses. We teach K through 12. All the way around. A lot of the work we do ranges that whole bracket. So tonight, we'd like to just take a moment and look at what our goals are. And so, Melissa, do you want to talk about these goals that we're going to do, our overall learning goals for the evening?
Absolutely. So this evening, we will look at how you can help build a partnership with colleagues, organizations, and businesses in which they can help to support you with your STEM goals. We'll also talk about why collaboration is important to your STEM program and how you can make that program successful. And as Michelle mentioned, we'll talk about the different resources that's available to you, as well as you'll learn how to collaborate to get the support and resources that you need.
And so we're going to share a lot of this with you, but we want to give you an overview because I know when I do professional learning, I kind of want to know what to expect for the evening. So we've given you our goals, but we're also going to share a resource bank that we're going to build together tonight. We have a body of research in these links that you're going to be able to go back, and as you talk about collaboration with not only your colleagues, but community partners as well, that body of research can help support you in those conversations, not only within your school, but also out in the field too. We are going to share a planning tool for collaboration and actually 2 short reference pages. One that is a reference page for working with legislators, because sometimes with STEM you do that. And then another reference piece that also talks about how to work with collaborative partners professionally. We know that you as teacher leaders being on this have that reference point for you, but these sheets can also be used as talking points with your students. And so we wanted to make sure that we were going to do that. And hopefully we'll have some ideas, a little bit of humor, and some things that we can consider in the future. We've got some rich resources for you. All of these will be shared with a link on a 1-pager. That 1-pager link will be in the chat box for you at the end of our evening tonight, but will also be in the Google reflection survey that we'll ask you to do quickly. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. It's going to be 2 questions and a link so that you can go and get all those resources so you don't have to scribble down all the URLs. So there you go. So Melissa, do you want to talk about our lesson agreements? Because I think this is something we've been doing throughout our STEM webinars, and I think it's good just to refresh that with all of us, to revisit it if we could.
Yes. If possible and safe, try to have your camera on. I would love to see your wonderful faces. Every question is welcome. You may place it in the chat or just speak up, just join in however you feel that you need to. Please mute yourself if you are not speaking. Remember, we're all in this together and we will be collaborating online. And so we'll continue to share ideas and stay connected. Believe in and ask if your participation in the virtual space is needed to make this time valuable and equitable for you.
So there you go. I think that's just common sense, but we want to make sure that we do revisit that because it does guide us in our work together tonight. And we'll be together for about an hour, and feel free. This really is an open time. We'll be asking for some group feedback and also some individual work time too, together in a collaborative doc. So let's move forward. Our first piece to this is really a thought starter. And so what I'd like to do is have you take a moment and pop into the chat box. That chat box is going to be down at the bottom of your screen, or it's a button on your phone, however you're comfortable doing that. And give us 3 words. What does collaboration mean to you? This is actually a lead off of a conversation we had earlier this week, which I know some of you guys were involved in. It was our Twitter chat on Monday. So what 3 words do collaborate bring to mind? Pop those in the chat box, and we're going to give you just a second. Partnerships, resources, synergy. There you go. I love that word, synergy. Although it's interesting always to have kids try to pronounce it too. Teamwork, partners, sharing. There you go. A common goal. Yeah, that's great. Sometimes you have to work to find that. Listening, open-minded. Stakeholders, there's a good one. Hopefully you'll have a lot of those by the time you leave tonight. You'll be able to figure out how to find them. And, you know, a lot of these words are pretty common in lots of different realms, not just in the STEM world, but in what we're doing. I love that. Patience and kindness. I think compassion could go through it as well. So as you continue to think about those words, thank you for popping those in the chat box. I want to move forward to one that we built off of our Twitter chat. So we participated in our Twitter chat as we do with our Voya fellowship endeavors, and we pulled a lot of the words that we were talking about and put them into a word cloud. So I want to share that with you right now. Here's the word cloud for you. And you can see STEM stands up, right? But we've got collaboration in there, learn, innovative, build, connection. These are some of the words. We just took all the tweets and we put them into a word cloud tool, and this is what stood out to us. But I think you may be able to notice something, that many of these words that are here are not just about STEM. They're also about skills that could be transferable to all of our different learning settings. So they could be in any content area, not just STEM. Our focus is STEM right now, and so we're going to keep it to that tonight. But I think this word cloud is interesting because it really does give us an idea of some of the words that are out there that people are discussing, just like the ones that are in your text box. And it makes me want to take those. I'm going to save the chat tonight and pull those down and put them into a new word cloud, and I will share that word cloud in the reference docs that we have for you. So I'm going to move forward, and we're going to talk about soft and hard skills. And I'm going to start this tonight. This is our video piece from Allison. She says to say hello to you. And a lot of those things that you saw in the soft and hard skills really rotated around STEM and what we ask kids to do. It's that doing part, but they're kind of categorized in 2 different ways. And so we want to have you just kind of think about it. And so Allison is going to walk you through that tonight, although she's not here quite yet. Here is her version of that that she shared with us this morning, and we're sharing it with you now.
Hi there. Today I'm just going to go over the soft skills that we believe are needed when you are creating those partnerships with colleagues, with organizations, and with businesses. What it really comes down to is these basic foundations, what we like to refer to as PV legs. And each one of those look just a little bit different and can help generate and facilitate really an ideal understanding of how we should behave when it is time for us as mentors of students and educators of students to reach out, as well as how students should behave when they're also trying to create those partnerships. So the first one here is poise. You appear calm and confident, avoid distracting behaviors. As you can see here, I have a few students in front of a panel of judges, and they're not playing with lanyards or spinning anything around, but instead they have their hands together or behind their back. They're very calm by their sides, no distracting behaviors, and getting right to the point. The next one is voice. Voice definitely is one not just as educators, I feel like we've kind of have that mastered because we have, our teacher voice. But what we also look at is teaching our students the same, speaking every word clearly, so clear enunciation, using a volume level that is just right for the space. We're not too quiet and asking people to speak up because you weren't sure what they said because it was too silent, but instead, that it is appropriate for where you are. The next one we're going to look at is life, and this is expressing with passion and emotions with your voice, and I have a student example here, so we'll just watch that real brief. Notice the inflection in his voice. Oh.
Oh, I think it's going to be a little hard to hear. It's not transferring through tonight. I apologize for that.
So again, while this young student here is still learning some of the other pieces of these soft skills, what he does have is excitement for certain things that are happening, right? Next, we have eye contact. You don't want to be just reading off of a script or looking for something to answer your questions, or reading off of a presentation, right? Usually you're presenting to another group of adults. They can read the information. You do not have to read it to them. So being clear and concise and giving them direct eye contact will go a long way. The connect visually with the audience, look at each audience member, and that could be in large groups or in small community building groups that you are working with for local businesses, maybe a meeting or something similar. Next, you can see here that same young man is working with his gestures, using hand motions, moving your body, having an expressive face. It's not necessarily about, big hand motions that are over the top and maybe end up becoming distracting, but instead something that might be clear, pointing to something, grasping something, depending on what you're working with. Speed also is necessary. So we talk with appropriate speed, and then we use pauses for effect and emphasis. And this is really important when you're talking about something that you're passionate about. This is just an example of a teacher here going over success criteria and using wait time effectively.
So I think we may have a pause there again just because of the sound, but we'll go ahead and let it play. You can see by gestures a little bit of what's happening there too.
So what we're looking at here, right, is we wait, we wait, we wait. Okay, no more questions. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, hard skills are a little bit different, but these are also skills that current jobs are looking for. And so not only is it important that we represent these skills, but that our students are also learning how to represent and to, obtain these skills as well. So hard skills, in addition to social skills, students learn how to cooperate in a group with a diverse group of thinkers and learners. Students learn to listen for understanding and are not just listening to simply respond. In a STEM environment, students learn how to identify and solve the real world problems of today. Simply having a background and working with a team to complete a project is different than learning to collaborate as a team, take on a particular role, and reach out to the community members. The understanding of networks and building community partnerships as they relate to STEM is essential for success. So this is not just, I know how to talk in front of a group of people, but I know how to create a relationship and build on that relationship of what they're looking for. I know how to not just take turns, but I know how to collaborate and add to a team and deeply think. I know how to hear what it is that they're trying to tell me and not just listen for me to then interject my own interest or my own questions that might be going on, right? Really being a valuable listener. And that's something that's really, really hard to do, is that teaching that listening skill as well, not just for hearing, not just so that I can respond right away, but to truly understand the value of what is being said. Why are these important? Well, there's a variety of reasons, but the biggest in our industry for sure would to be employable, functioning employees of the future or business owners of the future. We need to build these partnerships, and to do so, you need to have that effective communication. You need to have those collaborative skills. You need to know how to build trust with someone else, with a partnering team or group, and to find those advantages that both of you can offer each other. So for sure, these soft skills of what does it mean to make eye contact, and what does it mean to use hand gestures, and what does it mean to have inflection in your voice, very necessary things, but also those hard skills of now, when I go in and I shake somebody's hand, how is it that we can find some kind of common ground of why is it important that I should partner with you? What do you have to offer me? And you'll see here shortly that we're going to talk. It's kind of about like the elevator pitch, right? And what does that look like? So I hope you got something out of this here, but I really want you to know that when it comes to student learning and students cooperating, it's not just about reading off of something, right? But instead, it's the whole piece here of what is it are we doing? How do we communicate? How can we talk to somebody? How can we convince them that this is really best for everybody, everybody's best interests? Thank you so much. And coming up next here, we will have some tips as far as what does it look like when you are building that relationship with businesses and organizations and colleagues.
So there you go. Allison's going to join us towards the end of this, we hope, and to talk a little bit and answer some questions here. There was a nice chat. I apologize for a bit of noise. We were having a conversation on the backside as well that maybe it isn't such a good idea to call it soft and hard skills. Maybe it should be competencies, 21st century learning skills. There's a great resource from the Partnership of 21st Century Learning and also the American Association for Librarians that talks about those specific skills, and we'll share those with you at the end. I'll pull that link for you. So I want to go on in our webinar just because we want to respect your time tonight and move to this. Here is an overview of exactly what Allison was talking about. And what does this actually look like in the classroom? This summary piece we're going to share with you. It's in your resources, but we wanted to have it built in the presentation as well. So I want to take a moment and just check with you guys and see if there are any questions right now about soft skills and hard skills. And does anybody want to jump in this conversation about competencies? Do you want to contribute to that? So I'm going to open that up for conversation if you'd like to. You can unmute yourself and just join into that conversation. I know a lot of you have that skill base and would be willing to contribute to that. Otherwise, I'm going to pick on a few of you guys that I know are chatting it in the chat box. So Kristen, can I ask you about it? Because you just put a link in. Can you explain the link that you just shared in the chat box with us? Would you be comfortable doing that?
Sure, absolutely. The link that I put there is a link to a book that you can download or buy off Amazon that takes what we old school people used to call 21st century skills and reframes them as competencies. And I was actually part of a research project a year and a half ago that looked at how you overtly teach these competencies as part of content learning in many different content areas. So for example, how do I, as a physics teacher, overtly teach problem solving? And perhaps that's an easier question to answer as part of my content teaching than maybe how do I overtly teach creativity? Or how do I overtly teach communication skills? And so there's lots of sub-competencies amongst, everything, but it's a really cool resource, and a lot of it comes out of the Center for Curriculum Redesign.
Yep, there you go. And Laura just added in the ISTE student standards, which are pretty rock star too. Those have changed over time with it. Laura, do you want to mention that and talk about those competencies? Because I know we work a lot with those, and the skill set's probably coming. I'm going to put you on the spot because you added that in there too. And I know they just went through a recent change.
They did, and it took me a little while to kind of change my thinking because I had the old standards so ingrained, I think. But the more that we went through these, and I was even involved in some of the drafting feedback, it made sense, especially around, again, student competencies. But it started to focus on that kind of intangible behavior of grit or perseverance, or what does that look like with students too. So they're owning all the things that you're talking about too, but in the ISTE standards, it talks about how are they taking these into a digital world and really owning their own learning. And I think that's a switch that we've had to, or we're trying to make as educators too, right? To make the kids do the work of these soft skills, or to or that the soft skills really give them ownership in terms of their own behaviors, their own learning, their own work around all of these technology skills and what they're doing online too. So it kind of takes it to that next digital world.
Thank you for that. And I appreciate that conversation, because I think as we navigate this new normal for what we're looking at in regards to remote learning, many of these competencies, we have to look at what they look like in the digital world as the classroom. Sometimes it looks the same, sometimes it looks different. So having the curriculum redesign work as well as the ISTE work can help us balance those two pieces. So thank you guys both for allowing me to pick on you and share tonight. I appreciate that. We want to move on a little bit and have a conversation about what collaboration really does look like. And, you know, that's something that we've got to look at. And, you know, Ian just asked in the chat box, he said, as part of teaching these skills, interceding you in group, do we assign roles? Do we let them show competency? I think it's a mix of everything. And I think we know as teachers that we have to look at teaching the skill as well as content. And we can do that often by working with partners. So I want to step up into the next piece of our presentation. And so you've got all this skill piece that you need, and you've got a handle on the standards and content, and now what? And I guess I'd like to say one piece in here. It can either be a really good date or it can be a really bad date. And it depends on how you're going to play it and how you're going to prepare for it. And we want to actually take some collaborative time tonight to have a conversation around that. So I want to go on into this next piece. We're going to ask you to hop into a task, and we are going to actually push into a shared Google Doc. And I'm going to do that right now on my computer. And the bit.ly is right there for you, and we'll place it in the chat room in just a moment, but I'm just going to model this. We're going to give you 6 to 8 minutes. You talk through it, but we do want you to share, because this is going to be a place where we can put our brain trust together to share some collaborative partners. So I'm going to click on this and just hop out. This is actually an outgrowth of a wonderful STEM Institute sponsored by Instoy and Voya in particular. It was a summer STEM Institute. And this shared document really is a way for us to share some of the collaborative partners and the people we work with. And you can see that on this shared document, there's a list of a name of an organization, what type of resource, whether it's a person or a program or an activity, how to contact them, and what can we use them for? Is it an author talk? Is it a Skype visit? Is it something else? And there are a few in here for you that we've listed. But now we'd like to take 6 to 8 minutes and really just have you take a look and hop into this document. So I'm going to share this in the chat box with you. And I'm just going to get that link, and you guys can hop right in, and we'd like you to add to it. And this is going to continue to grow, and we're going to keep adding to it so that you can see it and use these links. We think that's really important. So let's go back. I'm going to put this in chat for us, and if it's not already there, and we'll ask you to hop in. So here's that link you can go to if you want to click it. Thanks for hopping in, and it's going to be a little quiet, I think. We're not going to bug you with talking, but this is where if you can multitask, work between tabs, we'll be in there too, but we're going to ask you, share who you're working with. Like I noticed that Skype's not on there. There are a few others that I work with, the National Park Service and some others. Add a few ideas, even if you've just got one, and it can be a local partner or it can be a regional or a national partner. Once we share this list, we're going to go on to talk about how those partners, we can connect with them and have a positive working relationship. So it's about 6:26. We're going to come back at 32. So hop into that document, and I'll be in the chat and in the document with you, adding some stuff in. So there you go. Same time. We're going to wrap it up and go back. So if you're finishing up your comments, great. Thank you for that. We truly appreciate that. But we'd like you to come back now for a second. Does anybody, just a couple of you, want to share your favorite resource? Pull off your mic really quick and you can unmute yourself. I see a lot of automotive in here, and I see some simulations and a few other things. Does somebody have one they want to share?
Hey guys, I'll go ahead and share one of those automotive ones I posted.
Go for it.
I just made a contact, and I don't have his contact information offhand, but I'll definitely try to share that back into the document later. But Mecum Auto Auctions, I don't know if anyone is familiar with them. They're actually the car auctions that you see broadcast on TV. So it's a pretty cool company, and they do nationwide programs. So this could work, you know, potentially for a lot of other teachers, not just myself in the Chicago area. But they were super amazing. They actually had me and about 40 students come out with free passes to view the auction, see all the vehicles, see the sales side of things. You know, that's maybe a little bit behind the scenes. It's also live broadcasted and filmed for TV, so there's all that aspect too, with video editing and production, all that kind of stuff. So just a really fun group, and they're super accommodating and just want to. They like helping out the schools. So.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing it. I wouldn't have even thought about that, especially to be online and have all that technology piece tied to it. That's wonderful too. So anybody else want to share one, and then we'll move on?
Go ahead, Diane.
Oh, you, Ian.
All right, Ian, you go for it.
All right, I'll go for it. This is very specialized, but just tourism bureaus in any state for social studies have those pamphlets they'll send you. And this could actually be an interesting way to get students involved in a study, an own personal project. You can get those sent to you, and they could pick a monument, a historical thing, and study the history of it. So it's specialized for my class for social studies, but definitely one that like gives authenticity to the project.
Absolutely. And a lot of times you can find those RAC cards, the one cards, Ian, to build on that. Those RAC cards are really great for student inquiry for research as well. And your tourism office, especially in a large town, will have those for you. So thank you. We'll continue to put stuff in here. Thanks, Melissa, for being with us. We're going to go forward really quick. And this page right here is maybe some that you thought about or didn't think about. I saw Skype on there, national parks. We've put some others on here. In Patico, we're going to talk about the National Marine Sanctuaries with NOAA, Project Learning Tree, NREL has a very, very active program, as does Beluga and Lead for Change. And so all of these are clickable when you're able to access the presentation. You can go right on top of any of these icons, and if you're interested, it will click you right out to that information so you can move forward and actually find some connections for your classroom or maybe for a colleague, because it is about those conversations. So let's go forward. Really, now that you've got all this, we want to kind of share a story and talk about kind of that top 5. What do you want to think about when you are connecting with somebody? And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, but we are going to look at this piece first. So Melissa, are you ready? I'm going to play it, and here we go. So
Yes, I'm ready.
all right.
Hi, my name is Melissa Connors. I'm a second grade teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, right in the United States.
And hi, my name is Mike Dunley, and I teach 3rd grade in southern New Jersey in the United States. But since COVID-19, we've had to reinvent how we've brought our 2 classes together and continue the wonderful community that we built.
We are building a virtual learning community that is really working for both our kids. So even though all of them don't have the digital devices, and we see the digital inequities, we're working each and every day to ensure that they're not losing any learning. To help us connect, we started using Empatico 3 years ago.
We've used several other different platforms and tools to help keep connected during this unique time in history. We've used Zoom, Skype,
Flipgrid, Google Classroom, Class Dojo.
We partnered our students one by one while we were still in school. They became pen pals.
And they continue to write each other today. And what we do is post in Google Classroom and share their letters.
And teacher collaboration is always at the key to all of it. The work we were able to do was even featured on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Thanks to a free video program, these schools, both in highly segregated communities, are working together.
What do you see that you have in common with the kids here in Memphis?
We're both people and we need to be treated the same.
Teachers in both schools collaborating almost every day on projects that build racial understanding.
Here are the other strategies that we used in the post-COVID time to keep our students combined. We had a New Jersey cranberry farmer present to both sets of students. We had the singer from Straight No Chaser come and sing and talk to the kids about his motivation and hard work. It's Melissa's cousin. And we had a chef from Memphis come and conduct a virtual cooking class and a lunch party.
Excellent job, Amelia. Gabby, what do you have, Gabby?
I have my strawberry shortcake right here. And then I have my hoagies.
No matter if we're in school or if we're at home, the collaboration continues and the community that we work so hard to build all year long continues to thrive.
And everyone was instrumental in our collaboration, such as the parents, students, experts. We realized that we were stronger together. And so collaboration has definitely been the key. Thank you.
So there you go. Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll keep up with the slides, but I'd like to turn it over and so that you've got a chance to really explain this beautiful partnership and how you guys have built collaboration.
Yes, and so every time I watch it, I get emotional when I watch my babies, right? So our babies are the heart of our classroom, and that's what makes our story so powerful, as well as the collaboration and why Michael and I have been so successful. The students are definitely at the heart of the work, and we hope that you can see how we apply STEM activities in our collaboration, such as the cranberry farm, the virtual classroom, a lot of STEM in that, and the kids didn't think about that. A lot of things go into cooking, as well as looking at my cousin. He came on and talked about motivation and what made him determined. And also he talked about the collaboration piece as well that he has with his group and what makes them successful. So collaboration is very important. And here I'm just gonna share what has made me successful, Michael, our collaboration, as well as others. So first, be able to share a story, build trust, invite to participate, give ownership, and amplify the partnership. So it's very important when you first talk to your colleagues, business or organizations, that you make a personal connection. And sometimes you have to do a little bit of research to learn about the person or organization, and so that you can get some of that buy-in. You have to introduce yourself, let them know who you are as an individual, what you believe in, and make them feel welcome. Provide the benefits of them supporting you and how they can help support your students. If you put students at the heartbeat of the conversation, who can turn that down, right? And also give visual prompts. Of course, you know, I have to be quick and you may not be able to use a video, but sometimes like pictures or brochures, whatever you have where they can see what you're doing in your STEM class. And pull on their heartstrings a little bit, you know, first hit them with the heart and later to the head, right? So, and that's what I always believe in, and I learned that from Teach Plus when I was in their organization. Tug on their hearts and then tell them what you need, right? And here goes Mike and I. We have plenty of pictures together. I love him. So you want to get the organizations to build trust. And how can you do that? You have to not always want them to give you things, right? So you have to be able to support them as well. When I think about the cooking class, and I was able to call on this chef because I have purchased some of her food items. I support her as well. So it was easier for her to support the work that I was doing with my classroom. Make sure that you're able to celebrate one another, you know, giving kudos when you see that business colleague or someone doing extremely well, and acknowledge their influence. Most of the times you connect with people when you see them doing something well, you see them being an expert at their work. Let them know, hey, I'm reaching out to you because you do this really well, or I see how you're helping the community. So just honing on those expertise and letting them know what they can offer your students, your classroom, school community, or community. So you have to think really outside your classroom walls as well. And you want to make sure that you create a safe space. Whatever they tell you or you tell them, you want them to know, hey, it's safe with me. So whatever you need from me or whatever I need from you, you're fostering that relationship. And also it's important to be empathetic, understanding them and who they are as an individual or organization. And once you're able to share your story and build that trust, and often building that trust and everything, it works pretty quickly, but you give them enough before you invite them to participate. So when you invite them to participate, it is important for you to share your goals. And so here you see an image of Dr. West with the curly hair, and she's a doctor at UT and she works in research. Well, this year she helped me implement a STEM club at my school, and I wanted a white coat ceremony. And I told her my passion, and boy, have she taken off. We have really taken off, and she has helped me in so many avenues. And so I call her my mentor. So, and I'm able to take constructive criticism, okay? Because I believe everybody needs a critical friend. So I shared my goal. I was genuine. She knew who I was. She knew my passion as it relates to STEM. And then just ask. Sometime, I mean, what could happen? You're either going to get a yes or a no, right? And so you have to be able to rock the boat. Don't care about failure. You don't fail unless you give up, right? So I'm a firm believer that you just have to ask. And most of the time, you're going to hear a yes. And check their availability. When are they free? Respect their time and try to work your schedule around their schedule. Be accommodating, you know, whatever resources, whatever they need. And what I'm talking about this, I'm talking about from the classroom to the school community to out into the, talking to the business and or other organizations. And then show your gratitude. Always say thank you. I'm from the South, so I'm always ending with a hug, whether you want it or not. So I'm a Southern girl. So I do whatever I can to show my gratitude, and I let my kids do that as well.
Sweet. All right, there we go. We're going to go to the next one.
And give them ownership. Yes, it's your classroom, it's your school community. We love it, but it's important to make people feel involved in that educational sector. So get their input first, see what they can offer, because sometimes it may be more than what you ever thought about. Don't micromanage. Once you tell them what you need or how they can help, release it. Let it go. Be a risk taker. And trust their expertise. And offer suggestions on how they can support students in the school community. So it could be funds. I wanted to take the kids to Dearborn, and so I was calling the lawyer who helped me with my car accident. I'm calling everyone, any kind of business or organization to make this STEM trip happen, and I offered them suggestions how they can help. And if they didn't want to help financially, I was saying, hey, come to my classroom, come see my babies. And once they came to see my babies, they was like, oh, Melissa, you asked me for $500. I'm gonna give you $1,000. So even with the COVID, we weren't able to go, but those funds are still there. They were willing to help.
All right.
So it's important to follow up. The conversation should never end, because once, even with Michael in our classroom, once they work with us or with any of us, even in Michael's own personal classroom, my classroom, we're always able to follow up. And that's why we're able to keep the relationship going. So send thank you letters, phone calls, share on your social media, tell everybody what they have done to make things successful in your classroom, because what you're doing is allowing for them to be inspired, allowing them to see what they can do for children. And that's what's important, that you always amplify that partnership, because when you do that, you make things happen for your kids and for your school community. And always discuss future collaboration opportunities. Find out what else can they do to help you and your school community. And so what I want you to see is that it's a transition. Once you're able to learn that classroom, that's your platform. That's your first platform. And once you rock that out, you go out into your school community, you connect with your colleagues, connect with the people in the community to make things happen for your kids, for yourself. And then you can make those connections together. You're stronger together. And that's what I learned with this pandemic, right? I'm learning the stories of my families and my students. And so teacher agency, student agency is really coming important. And let me add parent agency. And that is making things happen. So collaboration and colleagues is definitely a powerful thing to make things work for your students.
Thanks, Melissa. I really love this picture because on Michael's wall, he's got You Matter. And I think if we keep that at the center of our collaboration and our partnerships that we're working with, that makes a difference. The you can be any of us, right? The teacher, the parent, as you mentioned, with the parent agency, the community collaboration, et cetera. So thank you for that. So I want to just share, we're coming close into the end of our time, and I want to share a planning form with you really quickly. This is something to think about. You know, we know that great planning happens, great activity happens, but sometimes you need a guideline. This is just a screenshot right here of the planning form. I'm actually going to go out to it so you can see it. We're going to share this with you. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is this actually is built out of some conversation around community collaboration. And it started with a program that was once here in Colorado. It still kind of exists, called the Power Library Program. And I worked with a colleague, she's actually on tonight, Laura, and we worked with a Power Library planning form. And it has since evolved into lots of different things, but this is a community collaboration form. And it really is a place where you can land together. And it's nice to use it in a collaborative Google fashion if your partner is comfortable using Google or Word, but you can also bring it to a face-to-face meeting. And this really kind of sets some goals, some outlines, some responsibilities. And as much as you may have a beautiful built relationship with somebody, that structure can really help you in the classroom. And it actually really supports the outcomes that you want for students and also your community or parent partner. We want to make sure that everybody's needs are met. So this is kind of a way to think about that, what your goals are, how the collaborative goals are a benefit for students, because we may have certain goals that are for our classroom or for the community, but do they really benefit kids in STEM? And that's what we want to think about. And then it asks about a skill set. What can you bring to this? Maybe you can bring the supplies, or I can bring a speaker. Maybe as a teacher, you've got the kids, you've got the room, you've got the ability to do the activity, and then it lets you plan for a timeline and some tasks to complete. So we just wanted to share that so that you have a basis, because collaboration is only as effective as you make it. And when you're collaborating with your teacher partners within a school, often you have a formulaic process, maybe with your PLC, or maybe it is a one-on-one partnership. If you don't, and your teacher planning situation for a project needs some support, this can be transferable to that. We do find that it's really supportive for our community partners too. So I
Hey,
wanna-
Michelle, real quick, do you mind if I just piggyback off of that super fast?
Nice to see you, Allison. Welcome. And go ahead and hop in.
Hi, sure. Yeah. I just want to say, because I've made a lot of partnerships before working at STEM Lab, and there's a lot of people that want to help, but they just don't know how. And so often just reaching out saying, I know you're in this field, and they're going, yes, but I don't have created lessons. I don't have, a unit of study that's already been put together. So I think that sitting down with this document and really stressing what do you want from them and what are you hoping to get from them for your students becomes really powerful versus just, you're a pilot and I want you to talk about planes. No, it's so much more than that. And so really getting to sit down and create a lesson together so that they really have a firm understanding too of what you expect of them when they come in the classroom is really beneficial, because I've learned the hard way the first couple of times of, I'm a banker. What do you want from me? Aside from money, what do you want from me? What can I do for you? And I'm like, well, this is perfect. I'm teaching, about loans in an economics class and business pitches. And from there, then I could say, okay, can you, speak to something specific? And this is how I would like the class to look. So I think it's really powerful sitting down with this planning tool here. That way, the guest that you're bringing in, the professional, the expert also knows what to expect when they come into a classroom, because they're not a classroom teacher. So they don't have that experience and that, understanding of exactly what to do when they walk in.
There you go. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to go on. We are pretty limited in our time, so I want to just be able to talk about a couple things and move forward so that we can think about it. We wanted you to think about the characteristics of Rockstar STEM. This entire series really focuses on what each of these individual connections are. But we also know that collaboration connects to each one of these. If you're looking at building a classroom culture and positive student relationship, how can that partnership help you? And in this presentation, we challenge you to go back later and think about that. We're not going to take the exact time right now to do it, but there's a link there for you. And if you click on it, it'll actually allow you to contribute to that. If you're inspiring curiosity and inquiry, can your partner do that? Listen to what Melissa talked about tonight with her college partner and what she was doing with her doctor, her professor that's been working with her kids. That can inspire inquiry depending on how you build that. So we've actually just built out a small framework here for your thinking. But as we start to close tonight, we want you to actually think about some reflection and really give you a call to action. When you think about all these different pieces with collaboration and with working with a community partner, or maybe it's collaboration with a teaching colleague or a parent or an administrator, we want you to think about how you can take a project tonight and how a lesson, a plan, how are you going to connect with somebody and how are you going to collaborate with them? And we're going to ask you to actually go to this link and we're going to pop that into the Google chat for you and so that you can access it. And this is how you're going to get your certificate. We've asked you for your email address. I know some of you guys have come on a little bit later into the conversation, but this reflection, it's 2 questions. It'll take you just a bit. And when you do that, we'll be able to share your certificate back to you. And in addition to that, there is a link at the close of the presentation that will also allow you to get all the resources. It's a shared Google Doc. And if it's acting quirky like it was tonight, just hit request access and we'll make sure that you have it. So we also want to mention, I'm going to put that in the chat, that join us. We are getting together again the week of June 8th. We will have another webinar on June 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that entire week we'll be talking about inspiring curiosity and inquiry. And we encourage you to join us and to be part of that conversation. So I'm going to stop my share right here, open it up for a few questions, and I'm going to share that link for you so that you can access it and get that right in your chat box so that you have it. So there you go. And do we have any questions or anything that anybody would like to ask? So I'm going to open it up. There you go. You can ask in the chat if you'd like. And here I go. I'm going to post that for you for that link. There it is. So it's right there for you. Allison, I'm glad you got in. Is there anything else you want to add at the end as we're in our last 2 minutes of our webinar?
No, I'm assuming that we went over the Screencastify video really around those soft and hard skills, making sure that, not just the adults that are using those to create those partnerships, with their colleagues, but that we're teaching students to do that early on, since those are the big skills that our bigger companies are looking for today. They do want the critical thinking, but what they really want is collaboration. What they really want is, can you speak in front of a group of people? And to make sure that it's not just, teaching students or teaching ourselves, but it goes both ways so that we can all benefit from those, lessons.
Yep, we did talk about it. We actually talked about that soft and hard skill and about whether we really ought to look at some of the new conversations around that. There's some real conversation around really relabeling those and talking about competencies. So that may be a neat piece to bring back up. So
I have no problem getting some research and putting it into the shared documents. So that way other people can see some of that new research as well.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. So anybody else? All right, we're going to leave it open, although I know that we're going to close this. And on the email question, we will make that happen. I will check it. Laura just said, oops, it's requiring something. We'll make sure that happens. Thank you for joining us tonight. We surely appreciate it. And we thank you for being with us. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it.